Hi, hello. My name's Joe, and I studied archaeology and classics. And my intent here is not to bash you. I promise that's not what I want. There's just some things that I want to talk about that kind of argue my point against yours, if that's okay. And here's the thing: I could be completely wrong about this. You could be completely right this entire time, and that's cool. That's part of why I love history. That's why I love archaeology. But if you'll give me a few minutes, I promise I hope to make it worth your time. Okay. So in one of your videos, you talk about how we don't really have any primary sources about Alexander the Great, and how I think the earliest you said was 1500s. But that's not actually true. We have a Sicilian historian, Diodorus, who wrote in Greek the Bibliotheca Historica. And in one of his books, I think book 17, book 18, he actually talks about Alexander the Great quite extensively. And he uses as his source Hieronymus of Cardia, who was a Greek military general who lived at the same time as Alexander the Great, the same general timeline, who knew him personally. He was also a historian who wrote about it. You also have Greek historian Plutarch, who wrote about the life of Alexander. You have Arrian of Nicomedia, who wrote about the campaigns of Alexander, and both of them were about the first century CE. That's just to name a few. There are I think 5 primary sources that most classicists use today to get their information about Alexander the Great. As far as artistic depictions, so I'm not really an art historian, but I will tell you what I do know, and that is in Greek art, Greek sculpture, it was all about youth. The Greeks had an affinity for youth and youthful appearance, which primarily led to a more effeminate look in their artistic depictions. It's kind of the same as the Greeks having small penises in their sculptures. It was better to have a small penis than a large penis. It was overly masculine to have a large penis in ancient Greek culture, which was not what they wanted. And as far as the Casa tomb goes, I don't know too much about it. I was just doing a little bit of research into it. And for me personally, it's looking like it's more likely a noble family's tomb. I know it has Hephaestion's name as a monogram in the tomb, but a lot of families back then, they used big names like that to prove their nobility, kind of thing. It's a status thing more than it is anything else. Could be totally wrong about that. Could totally be Alexander the Great's tomb. Could be Hephaestion's tomb. It could be anybody's. But yeah. Hi, yeah. So I wanted to do a little bit more research into this before I spoke on it, because I wasn't entirely sure where she was getting her information from. So it looks like she got from the wiki page the origins of the name Alexander, which does say that the earliest form came from Mycenaean, or the Linear B, Alexandra, which is feminine. She is absolutely correct about that. But Alexander lived in the 350s to 320s BCE. Mycenaean Linear B existed about 1450 to 1100 BCE. There is an 800-year gap in between there. By the time Alexander the Great was alive, they were already using the Greek that we know and translate from. Of course, it's undergone many changes throughout the time that we've seen it, but essentially the Greek alphabet that we know is what Alexander was using. It's what the Greeks were using. So yeah, that's it. Bye.